for goals, scouting for goals. We want the finish, we want the goal. Scouting for goals, scouting for goals. Say it with us now, let it unfold. Scouting for goals. Scouting for goals.
Goeden middag, welkom bij de Scouting for Goals podcast, episode 5. Nice for the Dutch listeners out there. Welcome, episode 5 of Scouting for Goals podcast. I'm James, as always, and I'm joined by Wolves' number one fan, Dean.
Again.
And the man, the myth, the legend, the big dog, Ryan.
Yes, hello there, guys. You alright?
It's probably the nicest intro you've had, that, isn't it?
For the first couple of weeks, yes. That's very
There we
good,
go.
mate.
Well, you shouldn't have ditched us then, should you? When we were in the woods.
One episode.
Shocking still. No, you were at a wedding yesterday, weren't you?
I certainly was, mate. Had a couple of banda pops and had a cheeky boogie as well. So,
But when I rang him this morning to see if he was feeling up to it, I weren't so sure you were going to be here.
yeah, Big Dog's on operating at 60% today,
Is
but
he?
he's still committed to the podcast.
Now, you had a nice cream suit though, didn't you?
I certainly did.
Have you seen a picture of his suit?
I've not seen this.
Have you not? I'll have to show you.
It's quite a treat for everyone involved. So
Yeah, one thing, if you got one thing down that suit though, you'd have ruined
I'd
it.
have been screwed. I'd have been screwed, but Big Dog's cool, calm, and collected as ever. And
Well, there we
didn't
go
get anything
then.
spilt down him.
Nice one. So yeah, episode 5. Me and Dean had a bit of a chat about it in the week, and we're just going to do a nice, easy episode on basically the England squad and what we think of it, and you know the players that have missed out, should they have been called up, type thing. So before we start that, there's been a little bit of action this week in the football world. The first one, and probably the most famous bit, Champions League final. Obviously, PSG Arsenal finished 1-1. Now, again, Ryan, that episode that you ditched us, me and Dean were chatting about it, weren't we, on the European Nights episode, and we both said that we thought Arsenal were going to lose. Now, obviously, they actually started the game well, 1-0 up in 6 minutes, Havertz getting a goal. But they sort of struggled after that, I think. They struggled with possession, didn't they? And, there was a few chances that didn't go their way, and obviously, then PSG scored with a penalty. And ultimately, in the end, PSG won on penalties. So, they're the first team to defend their UCL title since Real Madrid in the 16-17 and 17-18 season. But do you think they deserve to have won the double this year, PSG?
Oh, absolutely. They've been the best team throughout the entire competition, I think. Dominating yesterday's game. I think it was over 70% possession for the most part of yesterday's game as well. Really trying to suffocate Arsenal. I think Arsenal did well to hold on as long as they did. I think it speaks volumes to their defence. But in the end, PSG were just the better side, and I think the better side won.
Did you watch it, right?
I didn't. I was obviously at the wedding, so I think
yeah,
that was
you were.
during the time of the meal, actually. So I was good. I missed it.
So you
But-
weren't at the wedding with the Champions League final?
No, but it's terrible. To be fair, I did get to watch the penalties.
What did you make of the penalties? Obviously, who missed the one?
So
Who missed the first one for Arsenal?
it was Eze the first
That's
one,
it.
wasn't it?
Let's
And
hope he's not on penalties for England.
well, yeah. Well, not after the last incident with England penalties.
Oh, don't remind me.
But yeah, it was him and Gabriel that missed the penalties for Arsenal, wasn't it?
I think Havertz, again, though, proving that he's a big game player. Because I remember when Chelsea won the Champions League, he scored the only goal in that final.
He did.
And I'm sure he scored a few other vital, important goals for Arsenal as well in finals. So, again, another good appearance from Havertz
Now-
there with a goal in yet another final.
One performance that didn't go down very well was Gyökeres. Came on as a sub, and I don't think the Arsenal fans were best pleased. Every time he got the ball, he was losing it, and apparently the only thing he did, not that I watched the entirety of the game, but apparently all he ended up doing really was scoring his penalty. Now, obviously, we've discussed, I forgot what episode it was now.
I think it was last week.
Was it? And we sort of said that we thought Gyökeres overall had been a good signing. But that was probably the biggest game of his career, weren't it? Champions League final, and he struggled to make an impact. Now, we've seen with players like Haaland that struggle to make an impact on the big stage. Do you think he's going to end up being one of those, or do you think it's just a learning curve for him, and now he's got a bit of experience in the final that he's just going to improve from there?
think time will tell on that. To be honest, obviously, I think I said to you last week, Arsenal were crying out for a striker, to go on and win the league. Obviously, they've done that this season, but he's been a bit hit and miss this season. And you can have games where the one-off game, unfortunately, in this occasion, obviously, it's like you said, the biggest game of his career so far. That he didn't do very well in it. But I think time will tell on that. To be honest, the next couple of seasons, see if he'll still be at Arsenal if they want to keep him or whatnot.
I don't think they'll get rid of him this year. But he's definitely going to be one of those that's under scrutiny depending on his performances. And I always think being a striker, you're most at risk of getting the fans on your back, aren't you, early on?
Yeah, I think it's always these kind of games that really determine, your top elite players from everybody else. So it'll be seen whether he can rise to the occasion next time around.
So the other bit of footballing news, and this is right up your street, Ryan, the news of Arne Slot being sacked yesterday. Now, again, last week we said that Slot seemed fairly confident that he was going to be at the club next year. It's come out now that won't be the case. Are you happy with that news?
Well, I'm never happy with a manager getting sacked. I was shocked by the timing of it because, like you say, I think everyone was pretty certain that he was going to stay there for another season. Me included. Especially the fact that everyone was saying that we were looking at Alonso. But the way it's moved so quick, obviously we'll be mentioning him in a minute, the manager that's possibly going to be coming in. Liverpool have obviously decided to act on it now and say, look, well, okay, there is someone out there that we want. And obviously, clearly, it's a big decision to make. And they've done it. In my opinion, I think, after based on the season that we've just had, then yes, I don't think it's the worst decision. I think everyone was slating him because of the style of football we were playing. It was quite boring and it wasn't enjoyable to watch. So yeah, I think time will tell on that one.
Well, you can say who the manager is if you want to. That's been linked to the.
Well, yeah, it's Iriola from Bournemouth, isn't it? He's the one that's going to be. He's the one that's.
The favourite.
I think it's all but confirmed now.
Are you happy with that?
To be honest with you, I think the job that he's done at Bournemouth has been absolutely terrific. It's just seeing whether he can make that jump from Bournemouth to Liverpool, because it's chalk and cheese, isn't it, really? There's a lot more pressure on being at a club like Liverpool. The fans and the club demands success, especially with the amount of money they spent last summer. And I think they'll probably invest again quite heavily again this summer.
Yeah.
But I think this style of football that he plays, I think is quite suited for Liverpool.
It's more attacking.
Yeah, 100%. And some of the players that we've got there, I think, I think he'll be a good signing, to be honest with you.
Do you think he'll work at Liverpool, Dean?
I think it's a good bit of business from Liverpool if they can get him in. Like I say, how he's transformed this Bournemouth team has been nothing short of remarkable, I think, in his time there. And hopefully it'll bring the best out of these players at Liverpool, like Wirtz. We'll get to see a bit more of his game, because I know under Slot we just weren't managing to see the full capabilities of what Wirtz could bring to the side. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. He's hoping that he can get the best out of these players.
Well, the last bit of news then that we'll put in before we chat about the England team, it sort of links in nicely because he's a former England international. Kieran Trippier, Dean, obviously this week confirmed that he's going to Wolves next season on a free. Now, we were discussing in the car, weren't we, this move, and you seem quite happy about it. So what sort of... Do you think he's going to be a starter for Wolves next season, or do you think he's just purely there for the experience and to help the younger players in the squad?
I definitely feel like he would get a place in the Wolves 11 next season, because, I mean, apart from that, we've got Chachua currently at right back, who I think I've made my point about in one of our earlier episodes already. But I think as a player, Trippier adds so much to the side. It gives us, a veteran that's been in the game for a while, has Premier League success, play for top sides like the Newcastle team, Tottenham at a time when they were, a better side than they are now, let's say, and getting up the table. So I think getting a player like Trippier that's had the experience and been around is really good for our side, because we've been lacking those leaders and those older players that can come in and help out. So I'm really delighted with the signing. It gives us a really good set-piece taker as well going into next season, something that we've been lacking a little bit, I think, in recent years. But yeah, I think he can add a lot into the team, and it'd be really, really interesting to see how we get on next season. But it's a good start. It's shown some ambition already, being able to get a player of Trippier's calibre on a free. I think it shows a good sign of intent. So hopefully it continues that way and we can get a few more top signings in.
What do you think then, Ryan? Because I said to Dean on the way up, like, Trippier on paper is a great signing for Wolves, but there's a lot of young wingers in the Championship that are quick, direct. They're just going to be running at him. And obviously he's 35 now, so his pace is a lot less than what it was. Not that he's ever been a particularly fast player, but his pace is obviously deteriorated now, a lot due to his age. Do you think that coming up against younger wingers in the Championship is going to be a problem for him, or do you think he'll use his experience to his advantage?
I think there'll probably be an element of both of it. I think, like you say, I think that, the fact that he's a bit older, there are a lot of quick plays in the Championship. He might struggle with that a little bit, but I think having, there'll be players in front of him. The formation that Wolves normally play with five at the back, there'll be players in front of him that will support him. But I think the main thing I think that having the experience and the quality of player of Kieran Trippier, I think that's a very good thing for Wolves. Clear sign of intent. I think it's just having, even if he doesn't necessarily start every single game, just having a leader and a player that's been there and won things before can only be a good thing for Wolves, because obviously, the Wolves owners and the manager came out a couple of weeks ago and had a interview with the fans regarding certain things, and that they've obviously got a clear intent of coming straight back up next season. So I think it's a very good first signing for Wolves this season.
Be interesting who else they can bring as well, because they tend to have. Well, last time in the Championship, obviously, he brought Neves, he brought Jota, he brought some great players in from abroad. So it'll be interesting who will be able to get this time.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can get another run of good business from the club as well, looking outside of maybe some of your top leagues and looking for those little gems outside, maybe in other countries like we did in the past with Portugal. It'd be nice to see. Hopefully we can pick up a few little decent, like, budget signings, I want to say, in a way, like players that we can get on the cheap that we're going to be able to develop and hopefully get into, top superstar level, as well as also getting these experienced players in like Trippier as well, because I think you've got to have a fine balance in the squad, which we haven't managed to have as of late. So it'd be good to see us rectify that, hopefully.
So we'll move on now to the main bit of the episode about the England World Cup squad. Still haven't got a title for this episode, so we need to think about that while we're discussing this. But before we discuss individual players and positions, what's your overall take on it, Brian? Are you happy with the England team, or are you a little bit disappointed with the players that have been missed out, or what's your take on it?
I think we touched on it briefly last week.
We did.
Didn't we? I personally, overall, I'm quite happy with the team. I think there's a few players that we'll go into more detail about in a minute that are a little bit, I'm a bit surprised haven't been picked in there. But no, I think it's got a blend of good youth in it and a bit of experience in there. But he's Tuchel's picked the players there that mainly all of them have been on form and been playing regularly for the clubs.
Most of them.
And that's it, the most of them. And the players that are there, you know what positions are going to be playing. Whereas before, in previous years, we've struggled to say what's the squad's going to look like.
It was
what
square
positions
pegs in
gonna
round
play.
holes.
Yes,
wasn't it?
100%. So I think on the whole, it's a good balance.
How about you, Dean? You happy with it?
Yeah, I've not really got many problems with the England side. I think pretty much everybody that I would have made a case for going is there. Might be the odd one or two players if I was being really picky, but like I say, I think the outrage on some of the players that weren't going, I didn't necessarily agree with, because I think you've got to go with the players that are currently in form, and I feel like that's what Tuchel's managed to do, so no complaints from me.
So we'll start from the keeper position then. It's probably the only position that no one's had a problem with. Obviously, the three keepers that are going are Pickford, Dean Henderson and James Trafford. Out of them three, I think the three of us would unanimously agree on that Pickford's going to be the starter.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer.
I mean, he's had another good season, hasn't he, for Everton? He's actually come third in the clean sheets list for this season, which I think is quite an impressive feat for him. He came joint third, funnily enough, with Dean Henderson, who played one less game than him. But we've got a few stats here. Dean Henderson actually had a slightly better save percentage than Pickford, purely on the basis that he faced 6 more shots and saved 6 more than him. So there's not much in it. But I mean, Pickford has faced 4 penalties, saved 1. Not that that really means much, but we know he can save penalties like he has done in future tournaments for England, hasn't he? Trafford is obviously going to be third choice, I'd say, for England. He hasn't played much, has he, for City this year? Through no fault of his own, really, because he joined to be to be their first choice keeper, didn't he? And then Donnarumma came in. I don't think there's much more to say on the keeper department. I think there's no one that's missed out, and I think we can all agree that Pickford's going to be the starter. Now, go on. What were you going to say?
I think the only one that was missed out, but I think he's had a big injury, was Nick Pope, wasn't it? I think he had he been fully fit, not necessarily saying he would have started, but I think he might have come into the squad.
True. I don't think anyone was expecting him to come in.
No. But yeah, I don't have any complaints, even though Pickford is Everton. Yeah, he's the number one. He's got the experience and he's been there before and done it, hasn't he?
So we'll move on to the defence, and this is where a few of the debates start. So we've took 3 right backs. We've took Reece James, Jed Spence, and Tino Livramento. So do you think Reece James deserved to go to the World Cup based on his form and how Chelsea have been this season? Because obviously Chelsea towards the latter end of the season, did they finish 10th, 11th? Can't fully remember. They obviously took a big dip in form. But do you think Reece James is England's best right back?
As a defending right back, then yes, there's no doubt about it. I think defensively he's brilliant. That's his best attribute. Even though he has been playing in midfield more recently for Chelsea. Problem with Reece James is if he could stay fit. Because he's very, unfortunately, he does pick up too many injuries. But I think as a right back, I think that's England's best right back, yeah.
You happy with Reece James at right back, Dean?
Yeah, I think out of what we've got to go with Reece James. There always is going to be the question marks over his fitness, but I think when you've got a Reece James at full strength, I think you've got very few right backs in world football that are better than Reece James. I think especially being a jack of all trades as well, up and down the pitch, being able to deliver. Reece James has to start. As long as he's fit, Reece James is in that team.
I think it's interesting because under Southgate, the right backs and left backs were a bit more attacking, weren't they? They acted more as wing backs at times. I think it's clear that Tuchel doesn't want to do that, and he wants defensive players at the back. He doesn't want them bombing up and that type of thing. So I think James is ultimately going to be sat back further than we probably would have seen under Southgate. Now, obviously, the second choice right back, you could say Jed Spence, in a very poor Spurs team, is probably our second choice right back. But Tuchel has said that he can play left back. So there's a bit of versatility there. And as we'll touch on later, we've only took one left back. So I'd imagine he could be backup left back as well. Now, obviously, Jed Spence is quick. he's a lot more direct, but defensively he's probably not the best right back we've got, is he? Would you like to see him have many minutes though at the World Cup, or do you think he's purely going to be there in case we pick up any injuries? Because as I said, he's versatile. If Nico O'Reilly gets injured, he can slot in at left back. But do you think apart from that, is he there to change a game, or is he purely there to cover players if they get injured?
I don't think he'll start. I think what you said there, mate. I think it's his versatility more than anything. With him and Livramento, because both of them can play left back. I think if it'll be Reece James and O'Reilly, and I think that he'll be there just in case if there's injuries or anything like that. Really,
it's interesting because Tuchel's also stated that he's probably the fastest player in England's squad, which I don't think I realised that he was that fast. I mean, you've got likes of Rashford in there who's fast. You've got Morgan Rogers is pretty quick, to be fair. So we've got Saka, who's, yes, he's not renowned for pace, but I'm surprised that he's Jed Spence, really. So it'd be interesting to see how many minutes he gets. And obviously, he's been in a poor Spurs team. So do you think he's deserved to have gone, Dean, based off the games he's played this season?
I think as an option, it is vital to have players like Spence that can slot in and out of different positions. I think versatility is a big thing in football. I mean, I'll always use this as a reason to why Fede Valverde for Real is probably one of my favourite players in football, because the amount of positions that guy can slot into and play fantastically is outrageous. So I think having players like Spence in and around the squad are vital, because you never know when an injury is going to pop up, and then you've got somebody at your disposal that can slot into those positions and hopefully help out when injuries do happen. I do like Spence as a player. I think he's a solid right back. Yes, Spurs might not have had the best season. I think everybody can say that, nearly going down again this season. But I think I do like Spence. He's a solid full back, and obviously brings a good pair of legs into the side as well.
I think he's a good player that we can bring on later on in games if we're chasing a goal. If we brought all the attackers on. Let's say we've gone to extra time, you normally get that extra sub, don't you? It'd be a decent option for us because he's quick, he's going to be direct, he's going to be trying to get the balls in. I think he's deserved to go. I think Kyle Walker will be a big loss for England because he's been solid for us in the tournaments he has played. And obviously, he's past his prime now. He's in the Championship now, isn't he, with Burnley? So it'd be interesting whether he does stay. So the third choice that we've took, the third right back, is Livramento. It was arguably the most controversial one in the team. He's had a bit of an odd year at Newcastle. Newcastle fans were surprised he was picked. And when you look at some of the players that have missed out, I mean, Trent didn't get selected and he's had a great year at Real, especially towards the end of the season.
Yeah, you could say a bit of a slow start. I know the Real fans weren't too convinced with him to begin with because of his defensive abilities. And saying the same thing, Liverpool fans have no doubt been saying for years as well that he'd...
Do you think that's why Trent's ultimately missed out then? It's because of his defence? He's not the best defensively.
Overall, if Tuchel's trying to go for a solid defensive core, then having somebody like a Trent, unless you're willing to go 5 back and have wing backs, I think, if you're going for a solid defensive side, then having players like Trent in the team as much as they can offer up the pitch on the other end, I think defensively he can be a bit of a liability at times, not being in position or tracking back in time. And he can get, beaten off the mark quite a bit as well. So I think that definitely would have played a factor as to why Trent's not in the side.
So why do you think Livramento's gone? Like, we've took 3 right backs. What do you think? And 1 left back. What do you think the thinking behind it is then?
It is one that was a bit of a question for me as well, personally. I mean, Livramento again has only played like half of this season for Newcastle, being out of the side. So again, I'm not sure if it might be a versatility factor like Spence as well. Maybe the fact that he can operate on the left as well. But it's a bit of a question mark for me as well, I feel.
What do you think, Ryan, with Livramento?
Well, I haven't really watched a lot of Newcastle games, to be honest with you. I
Well, I've got his stats here for you, right? So he's had 14 starts, he's had 3 sub appearances, so he's made 17 in total, and he's only got 1 assist this season, no goals. Apparently, in the games he's played, Newcastle haven't been very impressed with him at all. And as a third choice option for England, it's a bit sceptical that he's in and Trent isn't. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Had he deserved to go to the World Cup, arguably the biggest stage in football? Probably not. But Tuchel's made it clear of how he wants it to be, and he wants the team chemistry to be good, doesn't he? And he wants everyone to get along and stuff with egos. He wants to eliminate all of that. Now, there was talks of Trent and Tuchel falling out a couple of months ago, weren't there? So maybe that as a part of it. But I don't know. I just struggle to understand why we've took 3 right backs and took 1 left back.
I think, like you say, it's the versatility of it, because the 2 that you said can play left back. Like you said, I also think there's definitely something that's happened between Trent and Tuchel, because even when he was fit, I know he had a big injury during the season this season. Tuchel wasn't picking him. The other point about the defensive ability, I don't think he's as bad as people make out defensively, but I also don't think he's the best either. Obviously, Newcastle haven't had a very good season as far as their standards are concerned, and I mean the stats don't really back Livramento. But I think if you look at the squad as a whole, if you take in terms of having the depth there and the cover there, and the fact that you can play 2 different positions, like I said, we'll mention on the defenders, one of the defenders that's been took in a minute that hasn't really played all season. Based on 1 season, I think, on the whole, Livramento has been very good for Newcastle. 1 season didn't define that. But yeah, certainly a question mark on it, but I don't think he'd start anyway.
Interestingly, what you said about Trent and Tuchel falling out, he didn't really play under Southgate either, did he, Trent? He had a couple of starts in friendlies and things, but he never really cemented him. I mean, I know we had Walker, but we tried playing him centre mid, didn't we, Trent? And it didn't seem to work. So is it just... I mean, some players just find internationals more difficult, don't they? And I don't know whether it's something to do with that, or maybe he has got an attitude problem. Because it seems to be both England managers now haven't really rated him as much as the fans have. So it's an odd one, really, with Trent.
I think with Trent, unless you play to his strengths, or what, like Dean said, with playing a different formation. Obviously, at Liverpool at the time, it was him and Robertson were allowed to bomb on, and they're more creative rather than just defensively. You for someone like Trent, you have to play in his best position and use him to his full strength.
Yeah.
But some managers just they don't. They either, something's obviously happened with Tuchel with him. Some managers just want a specific fullback to do a specific thing, and Trent's not known for his out and out defensive responsibilities.
No.
So
we'll move on to centre backs, which again had some controversy online, didn't it? So the centre backs that we've took, Dan Burn being the first one, John Stones, Mark Gahey, Ezri Konsa, Jarrell Quansah, and obviously no Harry Maguire was the big one, wasn't it? He came out a night before the England team was announced and said he weren't in it. So Dan Burn then. I actually quite rate Dan Burn. I think he's a good centre back. He's tall. He's the same height as you, Ryan, 6'7". I'm glad no one made it. Yeah, Ryan's made a 6'7" joke. There we go. Do you think he's going to start, Dan Burn, or is he there to bring on later on in the game purely for set pieces and using his height to his advantage? Because he's not the quickest, is he? And I think with football now, you want a bit of pace in there, but he does bring height, and he's quite good in the air, and he's a good leader, isn't he, Dan Burn? Do you think he's going to start for England?
No, I don't. No, I don't think he'll start. I think it's another one that's there for squad depth, leadership, experience. I actually don't think he's a bad defender at all, but I think I think mainly as well, it's like you just said there, mate. I think having him there as an option, depending on a certain game scenario, if you're needing a goal, and you can bring him on for 20 minutes for set pieces. I think he would be terrific for that.
See, my argument against that is Harry Maguire. We know he can score headers from corners, from free kicks. So if you're taking a player for his height because he's good from set pieces, I don't understand why you wouldn't take Maguire. I mean, you look at the second half of the season he's had under Carrick. He's been immense. Arguably, he's been England's best centre back. So I don't know. Dan Burn, I'm glad he's gone, and it'll probably be his only World Cup, won't it? Now, because he's. What is he, 32, 33?
Yeah, I think he's getting around that ballpark, yeah.
So it might very well be his one and only World Cup. John Stones, I don't think much needs to be said on him. He'll probably be a starter, won't he?
I think if I was going to take Maguire ahead of anybody, though, personally, it would be John Stones, because I think if you look at players that haven't really played much this season, that's John Stones, isn't it? Now a free agent as well. And for me personally, Maguire is a player... I think having somebody in the side that's faced the scrutiny that he has over the years, but has still been able to fight and still compete for his position and work hard, despite all the fan backlash, all the memes and everything that he's had against him, he's still been able to deliver. So I think having somebody hungry in the side like Maguire, who, again...
He's never let England down, has he?
Yeah, has never been poor for England as well, putting in fantastic performances in past tournaments. I can't see why you wouldn't include Maguire in the side.
My only thinking behind it is, as Tuchel said, he wants a good chemistry in England squad. We know Maguire has got a temper sometimes, and he had that altercation in Greece. Obviously, some people would argue that he spat his dummy out when he weren't selected and has sort of leaked a lot of the England stuff about himself. So is that the type of play you'd want around the England team? I don't know from Tuchel's perspective, but as a player, I think he should be the first defender on the team sheet.
Yeah, I think you try and put out the side that are going to win games at the end of the day, and I think with how instrumental Maguire's been in past tournaments, I would have selected him personally.
I mean, Tuchel's made it clear he sees Stones as a leader, doesn't he? So I think Stones will probably captain England at the World Cup. It'd be tight between him and Rice, I'd imagine. Like you said, Dodini's a free agent now, so he's going to want to impress at the World Cup to see where he can end up.
Yeah, he's definitely got a statement to try and prove that he can still hang in there and try and attract other clubs to want him as well.
So the other centre-back, Mark Gahey, he's obviously going to be a starter alongside Stones, I would imagine. He's played the most games of any English centre-back this season with 35. Obviously, he's joined Man City now, contributed to 6 goals overall this season. He's also won 193 duels, which is the most of any English centre-back, and won 103 aerial duels. So he's very good in the air. He's very good at, these tackles on the floor and winning the ball back. He's probably the best centre-back in this team, isn't he?
Oh, no doubt. I think how he was for Crystal Palace and how he's been able to perform for Man City since signing for them in January, he's definitely one of the first names that I would have on the team sheet, along with Harry Kane as well. Definitely somebody that's good. Like, typically England in the past, we've liked to play it out from the back with our centre-backs, and Gay being a good passer of the ball as well. I think he's definitely going to be an instrumental player into the side.
Now, you're a big fan of Gay here, aren't you, Ron? You wanted him to join... Well, he was meant to join Liverpool, wasn't he? At one point before it all fell through.
Yeah.
But what do you make of Gahey? Do you think he's by far England's best centre-back, or do you think he's overrated?
I know. I think he's definitely England's best centre-back. What he's done, like you say, at Palace, and then going to Man City, and then in his first season winning 2 trophies. He's 2-footed. And he's your modern day centre back, where he can play out from the back. He's quick, he's strong, not the tallest, but he's everything else. He makes up for.
He's not the tallest, but he's won 103 aerial duels, he's won 103 aerial duels, which is the most of any English centre back. So he's clearly got a good leap.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
I mean, even Dan Burn didn't achieve that. He won 98, and he's 6'7". So Well done for not making the joke this time. So yeah, it is an interesting one. I do think Stones and Gahey will be the two centre backs for the World Cup. Obviously, we've then got Konsa, who's won the Europa League with Villa. As depressing as that is, he's come. Was it fourth in the Prem? Villa came.
Yeah, they came fourth.
So he's had a very good season. He's 34 starts. Didn't contribute to a single goal in the Premier League anyway. He won 100 duels and 32 aerial duels. Do you think Konsa could be in contention of starting?
Well, for me, I feel like it would be Gay and Konsa. I know you looked at Stones, like in the past, Stones has been a starting player for England, but I think based off of last season, I don't see Stones starting in that England side. Maybe in some games we will see Stones get a good amount of minutes, but I think you have to go with the players that last season were in form for their clubs and have been playing the most football. I think Konsa for Villa last season, I mean, they won the Europa League. They've been one of the better sides in the Premier League, and he's been a big part of that week in and week out for Villa. So I think for me, it would be Gay and Konsa in the side.
It's a tough one because I agree. I think Konsa is the better option over Stones, but Tuchel's made it very clear he rates Stones and sees him as an influential player. So it'll be interesting. Gahey, I would say, I'd bet my house that Gahey's going to start.
No, 100%.
And I'm leaning more towards Stones starting, but I wouldn't really mind if Konsa was to start either. Do you think Konsa's going to start?
I do personally. I think if you, like you said earlier, I think Tuchel said he's wanting the team cohesion, and if you look at all the friendlies that they've played, Gahey and Konsa, 9 times out of 10 have been playing together at the back. So, I think, in my opinion, that's the best partnership that we can get. So yes, I would say.
Well, the other centre back we took then, Jarrell Quansah, who you'll know a lot about, Ryan, because he was at Liverpool for a bit, wasn't he? Another interesting acquisition into the England team. He's obviously playing it. Is it Bayer Leverkusen now? He's at?
Yeah.
Very athletic centre back. He's quite tall. He's quite stocky. 25 starts for Leverkusen, 3 sub appearances. He's scored 4 goals this season, which is the most of any English centre back. Do you think he's worthy of a spot on the plane to America?
I mean, if you look at the season that Leverkusen have had, he's been integral for them. I also think it's another one of those positions. England aren't blessed with a load of centre backs anyway. I think he's there for a bit of experience, World Cup experience, and he's there as a squad player. I don't think he's going to be necessarily starting. I think, like you said, probably the biggest one that hasn't been included is Maguire, and I think he should have definitely been included.
Who would you have included him over the?
Well, I wouldn't have been against him being over Quansah or Dan Burn or Stones, even, to be honest with you. I think the only two that I would have said probably not is Gahey and Quansah, but the rest of them would definitely have a debate for.
See, Quansah's quite an athletic centre back, and I actually quite like him. He's quick, he's strong, he's decent in the air. He'll give us a different option should we need him. I don't think he'll play a minute, personally, unless we get injuries. I don't think he'll play at all. Because you look at the pecking order, he's going to be behind Konsa, Stones, Gahey. And I reckon he's on par with Burn, but again, Burn's got the height advantage. So it will be interesting. Now, the only left back we've took is Nico O'Reilly, who's obviously had his standout season, hasn't he, for Man City?
Yeah, a wonderful season overall.
29 starts, 5 sub appearances, 5 goals, 3 assists. He's about 6'4", isn't he? Is there anyone got any complaints about O'Reilly going as England's one and only left back?
I think heads and shoulders would be England's best left back at the moment. The only one you could sort of make a case for as well that I think has been a decent player is Lewis Hall.
I was very surprised he didn't get picked.
Yeah, I was expecting, over somebody like a Livramento, I would have expected Lewis Hall to have been in the side as well. But I think O'Reilly, hands down, would be England's best left back coming into his own in that City side this season. I think Aït-Nouri was originally starting in the Man City team, but then had an unfortunate injury. And I mean, since then, since O'Reilly got into the side, he's been a starter through and through. Aït-Nouri then, when he came back, struggled to get back into the side just based off how amazing O'Reilly had slotted in. So,
Well, that's the interesting thing is we took 3 right backs, 1 left back, and I wouldn't have took Livramento. I'd have took Lewis Hall. So we could have had 2 right backs, 2 left backs, and had arguably the 2 best left backs in the Premier League. So I don't understand his thinking behind that, but I think O'Reilly is the starter for England. He's tall again. He has a bit of height. He's quick. He's had a good season for Man City and under Pep. So
his first international tournament as well, so he'll have a lot to prove.
he will. The only other players that have missed out really that we haven't touched on is Levi Colwill of Chelsea. I don't think anyone was particularly bothered. He hasn't had an exceptional season.
He had a very massive injury as well throughout the whole of the season.
He did.
So so I'm not surprised by that one.
So that's pretty much covered the defence. Midfielders we've took Elliot Anderson, Declan Rice, Kobe Mainoo, Jordan Henderson, Jude Bellingham, Morgan Rogers, and Eberechi Eze. So some big names left out in midfield. Some of them we won't really need to touch on. Obviously, Elliot Anderson. He's been great, hasn't he, for Forest this season? Do you think he's going to start? Because I think Tuchel's made it clear he wants to play a 4-3-3, but it's whether he want to play the 4-3-3 with the more defensive players in it, or will he want to play it with the attacking midfielder? So it'll be interesting what he picks. But do you think Elliot Anderson could be an integral part to our World Cup journey?
I think so. I think I think he's had an excellent season at Forest this season. Elliot Anderson is box to box. He's very all rounded. Also allows Rice if he was playing as the City midfielder to bomb on, because Rice tends to do that for Arsenal anyway. I think it depends on what type of personnel Tuchel wants in the midfield.
He'll definitely get minutes, even if he's not a starter. He'll definitely get minutes, won't he?
I think I'd be expecting a double pivot of Anderson and Rice, and then Bellingham maybe playing just ahead of them, or like Bellingham and Rodgers rotating for that attacking midfield role a bit higher up the pitch to link the play going forward.
To be fair, that's the midfield I would have picked, would be a Henderson, Rice and Jude. I think that's a brilliant midfield, to be fair. I mean, I know our defence isn't necessarily world class, but I think the rest of the team is. Obviously, Rice, probably one of England's best players, isn't he? There's nothing that needs to be said about him. And on top of that, he's won the Prem and got to the final of the Champions League. So, you know, he's got experience. He's a quality player. He's probably the best defensive midfielder in the league. Good leader, obviously captain of Arsenal. Kobe Mainoo was an interesting one because start of the season he weren't getting any minutes, was he, under the... Who was the United manager now? That was it, yeah.
Which is shocking in of itself, to be honest.
I mean, there was rumours of him being loaned out, and he just wasn't getting anything.
Even leaving, I think.
Obviously, Carrick came in and completely transformed that United team, gave Mainoo tons of minutes, and he's done brilliant, hasn't he, under Carrick? Now, based off the second half of the season, he's deserved to go. I think, to be fair, he's unlucky that he wouldn't start for me, based on his performances. But I just think Elliot Anderson, he's had that good of a season for the entirety of it. You can't really dislodge him. Yeah,
over twice as many appearances as Mainoo this season as well.
That's through no fault of Mainoo, though.
No.
But, I mean, Mainoo, is it his... this is his first major tournament, isn't it?
No, he played in the Euros.
It's his first World Cup, though.
Yeah, he came off the bench in the Euros, like midway through, and put in a few really impressive performances.
I think he's a great backup for us on the bench for England. Again, he's a game-changing midfielder. He can spot the pass, can't he? He can break up play well. Again, no real complaints with Mainoo. I think we'd all agree. Jordan Henderson, he had a lot of... You either love him or you hate him, don't you, Henderson? And under Southgate, he was picked pretty much all the time as our starting midfielder. Obviously, how old's Henderson now? 32, 33?
Yeah, he's early 30s, isn't he?
Has he deserved to go over some of the players that have missed out?
I think he's had a terrific season for Brentford. I personally wouldn't have took him. Like I said, I think some of the players that have missed out. Probably for the position that he plays, I'd have probably gone Alan Morton on this occasion.
Yeah.
I think Henderson's another one of those players that is there purely for not just his footballing ability, because he's still got it, but also his leadership. I think we're having someone in the dressing room like Henderson there, or that can come on during a game that maybe might not go in the way that we want it to, just there to chivvy the other players on. I think that's valuable. So I can understand to a certain extent why they've took him.
That is a good point. Tuchel has took a lot of leaders, hasn't he? Obviously, he's took Henderson, he's took Stones, he's took Rice. I mean, I know Rice was always going to get him. He's took Kane. A lot of these have captained teams before, so there is a lot of leadership in this team. Whether he should have got in the team over some of the players that have missed out, like Adam Wharton, is a debate for another day, I think. I think it's a very 50-50. Wharton's probably the better player, in my opinion. But like you've said, Henderson's going to be good because he's not going to be starting. I'll be amazed if he does anyway. He's good for behind the scenes and coaching the younger players, isn't he? And
that's what I was about to touch on. I think he's mainly going to have gone for like his mentorship qualities and what he can pass on to other players, as well as the fact that he's gone the distance with England before. Yes, we might not have won the finals, but he's been there. He's made it through to the semis and the finals, and he's got that experience and advice that he can offer to other players. I think from a team cohesion aspect as well, it's good to have Henderson there. Yes, I would argue, like everybody else, I think as well, that Wharton should have gone, but you can definitely make a case for why Henderson is there.
It's a good point. Again, I was going to mention that. Obviously, he's got to the last two, the Euros finals, and he's captained us for a couple of games in them, hasn't he? I believe when Kane's gone off. So he's been in two international finals. He knows how to deal with them, and especially if he's not starting, putting that sort of mentality in Anderson and Moinu is going to be massive. I think. I don't think Rice would necessarily need it. Obviously, then we've got three attacking midfielders going. We've got Jude, Rodgers, and Eze. Now, this is probably the hardest position for England, weren't it? Because we've got a lot of number 10s, the likes of Phil Foden missing out, Cole Palmer missing out. Do you think either of them deserve to go, really? I know they're big names, but do you think they deserve to go?
I think. Well, Phil Foden's been very much not playing a lot of games for Man City this season. So no, I don't. I think if you're going based on form, Foden doesn't probably deserve to go. Cole Palmer, I'm a big Cole Palmer fan. But I think what I touched on earlier in the episode, in the podcast, with the players that Tuchel has took, and the players like in terms of what positions that those players are going to play. I think the three that have got ahead of him, Bellingham, Rodgers, and Eze, probably deserve to go in front of Cole Palmer based on this season.
Yeah. Tuchel also said he didn't want to take players that weren't going to play in their natural position and get lodged in positions they're not necessarily comfortable in, which is something that's happened previously, isn't it, with England? We've took all the big name players and played them out of position, and it's worked to an extent, but then they've been caught out, and so there's that aspect of it. And I mean, for years, England fans have been saying he's been awful this year, he's not been in any good form, why on earth is he going? And Tuchel's now pipped the majority of the team on form, and people seem to still moan about it.
It's still being met with backlash, which is crazy to me, because we were saying the exact opposite prior to that. But I think for me, the main aspect is the consistency. If Foden and Palmer haven't been performing this season, then why would you take them on the biggest stage? You're going to go with the players who, throughout the recent season, have been delivering for their clubs. I'd much rather be seeing Bellingham, Rodgers in the side than somebody who's potentially going to be a liability or might show up for a game or two here but then go missing afterwards.
Now for me, I don't know about you two, but I think this is the hardest position in the squad to pick. From a non-biased perspective, Jude is Jude, isn't it? sensational player, and I think we watched it together, didn't we, last time at the Euros in the pub, and he scored that bicycle kick in extra time, or at the end of the game anyway, to send us through. He's got quality, he's a game winner, he's probably one of England's most important players. But, and as much as it pains me to say it, Rodgers has been brilliant for Villa, hasn't he? I mean, you look at his goal contributions, 10 goals, 6 assists. He's been Villa's probably best player this season, hasn't he, along with John McGinn. Who would you start at Bellingham and Rodgers?
See, I think I'd almost come across as hypocritical if I then went for Bellingham when I've been saying it's all about, the recent season and who's delivering. So, as good as Bellingham can be on his day, I think at the moment, for me, even though it would pain me to say this, with Rodgers being a Villa player, but I think Rodgers has had such an incredible season. Personally, I'd be playing Rodgers there. Mm-hmm. I think Bellingham no doubt can produce magic, and having Bellingham in the side would probably work wonders for us this campaign. But I think also as well, Rodgers has a bit more of that pace aspect that Bellingham has as well, which would fit Tuchel and, the style of play he likes to deliver. And also with Kane and how he tends to operate as a centre forward, often dropping into the midfield to support and build up. I think having somebody usually, like what's happened in Bayern Munich as well, you'd expect the player just behind him, the attacking midfielder, to run forward into that space, because we know Kane's got that fantastic playmaking ability as well. So I think having Rodgers rotating with Kane as well, when Kane sits a little bit deeper and making runs ahead of him, could be very, very pivotal for England in this tournament.
What about you then, Ryan? Being Liverpool, you haven't got the same sort of displeasure towards Villa as me and Dean, but who would you pick if you were Tuchel?
I think it depends on the personality he wants in the midfield and the sort of dynamics that he wants in there.
Because there's talks that Jude and Tuchel had fell out at some point, weren't there, earlier on in the campaign? Whether they're true or not's a different question. But it's a tough one.
It is a tough one. I mean, like I say, I think if you're going based on this season, I think Rodgers just definitely deserves to go in there. I think Bellingham, you've got a bit more all-rounded in terms of attacking and defensive abilities. But if you said you've got Anderson and Rice that's sitting just behind him, I think if you're going based on this season, you go Rodgers. His stats back it up as well, and he's been terrific for Villa this season. So from an attacking outlet, I think you'd probably go Rodgers. But to be honest, we haven't mentioned him enough. I think Eze, I wouldn't be unhappy if Eze started either. To be honest with you,
I don't think he will. Personally.
I don't think he will, but I think he's certainly someone that deserves to be mentioned, because I think he has had a very good season for Arsenal.
Can Rodgers play out wide?
On the left, I think
he can.
That's the beauty with the three of them. Yeah. It allows we were touching about the fullbacks earlier. All of these three players can play in different positions.
I mean, it's not going to come to any surprise who I would pick, but through being non-biased, seeing what Jude's done for England in the past, he'll always come up clutch in the last couple of minutes and he'll do something that you don't expect out of nowhere, like that bicycle kick he did. He's a good leader. As I've said before, when he was at Blues, his mentality's clear that he's head and shoulders above players of his age. Towards the end of the season, I felt Rodgers wasn't as good as he had been prior to Christmas.
A little bit.
Whereas Jude started hitting form when Rodgers wasn't in form. So basing it off of that, I'd pick Jude. There might still be a slight bit of bias going into it. But I don't know. Rodgers hasn't yet proven he can do it for England. Jude has. So, but like you said, I wouldn't be against Rodgers playing out wide either, to be fair. Eze is another solid option for us to have a look in, isn't he? But I think the three of them will definitely get a lot of minutes. I don't think there's going to be one, you're the number 10 for this tournament. It's going to be very rotated, and probably, depending on who we're playing, is who he'll pick, won't it? Against some of the bigger, more physical teams, Jude might be the better option because he's taller. You know, but when you want to be a bit more direct, Rodgers or Eze, probably a slightly better option, aren't they? So it's a tough one. It's by far England's biggest headache of the
I
tournament.
think to make a case against my point as well, from a team chemistry aspect, Bellingham is the one that's had more time on the pitch with Harry Kane. So, you know, with those two playing together in the Euros, so that also could prove valuable too.
I mean, the only player we haven't covered that's missed out of the midfielders, James Garner of Everton. I don't think he's any better than who we've took personally. I know there was a few, I think predominantly Everton fans, that thought he should have at least been in with contention, but you look at that midfield, I don't think James Garner really is better than any of them. He's still a solid player, and in a couple of years he very well might be. I mean, that leaves us with the attackers now, doesn't it, really? So we've took, obviously, Saka, Madueke, Rashford, Anthony Gordon, the new Barcelona winger. How that's happened, I don't know. Harry Kane, Ivan Toney, and Ollie Watkins. So if we start off with the wingers, we've took Saka and Madueke. Who do you think is going to be the two wingers for England, the right and left wingers, if we do play a 4-3-3?
If we play 4-3-3, I think the two that I'd probably say is Saka and Rashford. Those are the two that I would be saying. Wouldn't be against Anthony Gordon starting either. It's on the right.
Again, they all give you different options, and I do think that's why Tuchel's selection is quite clever. We seem to got options for every scenario. We've got versatility. You know, we've got players that have been in form and players that are purely there as sporadic players. If they're needed, they can show up, like Livramento. But you'd pick who? Sorry, Rashford and...
If it was me personally, I'd be going Rashford and Saka.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that, to be fair. I mean, you look back a year and a half, you would not have expected Rashford to be in this squad.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Down the pecking order at United, he you know, his career was not over, but when he was younger, 19, 20, and he broke into the United team, he fell out of favour at United. I agree. I think Rashford will start, and I also think Saka will start as well. I mean, Dean's a big fan of Rashford as well. Do you think Rashford will be the starter for England?
Oh yeah, I think this season I'd love to see Rashford starting. I think he's had a terrific campaign for Barcelona. I was quite baffled recently, actually, that Barcelona decided to sign Gordon ahead of exercising their...
Well, apparently they're still after both.
Yeah, I've heard that they're still willing to pursue Rashford and put that transfer through as well. But I would have put the money possibly towards getting somebody else in at Barca. You know, obviously they're trying to chase Julian Alvarez as a forward as well, so it would have helped along with that. But I think, yeah, after the campaign, it's nice to see that Rashford's got his confidence back a little bit now and, you know, seems to have good people around him, and that's led to good performances this season from Rashford. So I'd be having him in the side. I think he's had the better season than Gordon. So
I can see him being a dark horse for England. Like, you know, he's been very loved and hated throughout his entire career, hasn't he? People have loved him, then haven't. But he's always delivered when it matters most. And I think for England, it wouldn't surprise me if he popped up and scored a winning goal at some point and the entire nation loved him again, which would be nice for him, because I've never had a problem with Rashford. I think he's a good player. I mean, he's had 8 goals, 7 assists this season. That's the most he's had in God knows how many years.
And I think, again, based off Kane's play style, it helps to have those aggressive players in front of him that are going to make runs into the box and be in those positions, so that when Kane, you know, manages to thread through one of his killer balls like he does, he's going to have players in those positions. And with somebody like Rashford at the moment that's had a hot season, been clinical for Barcelona, it'll pay dividends to have him in those areas.
Now, with Gordon, obviously he's moved to Barcelona for about £69.5 million, which, for a player of Anthony Gordon's abilities, like, I can't believe he's worth nearly 70 mil. When you look at Rashford was, 30?
Yeah.
Do you think the fact he's now playing for Barcelona will have any impact over Tuchel selecting him? Because he's now playing for a bigger club, and like, is that going to go in his favour? And Tuchel's going to think, well, if Barcelona see something, then maybe I should start him over over Rashford.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the interesting aspects with the side this season in the tournament, because Gordon's now got, I mean, he's had the move, don't get me wrong, so he's not trying to play well to secure the move, but I think at the same time now, Gordon's going to feel like he's got something to prove, because he's pulled off that big money move to Barcelona. A lot of people are questioning it, myself included personally, because I would have gone with Rashford with the cheaper option, but I think he's going to want to showcase to Barcelona and to fans that that move was justified, that he belongs in a side like Barcelona. So I think he's going to be playing with a bit of a weight on his shoulders, maybe, which, you know, might add to Gordon in the tournament. So I think there'll be a bit of competitiveness maybe on the left hand side for England in the tournament.
So would you still pick Rashford over Gordon?
I think based off this season, like I've been saying time and time again, I would be playing Rashford in the tournament currently. But it'd be interesting when Gordon gets some minutes, how he performs and just how he manages to deliver for England.
So then that leads us to England's front three, really. I mean, Madueke is not going to start, is he? Touching back onto the wingers quickly, he's there purely, I would imagine, as a backup. England's front three, Kane, Tony and Watkins. I mean, there's goals in all three of them, isn't there, to be honest? But Tony was the one that shocked a lot of people. He's had 32 games. Is it Al Ahly he plays for? I think it's Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
32 games, 32 goals and 7 assists. So that's 39 goal contributions in 32. Again, I think it's justified that he's gone based on his stats. But I think a key thing that a lot of people have forgotten with players such as Tony, Rashford, Jude, and to be fair, you could argue this for Kane in Germany. The World Cup being in America, Mexico, not maybe as much Canada, but it's hot. It's a hot climate. Players like Tony, who are playing in Saudi Arabia, where it's hot week in, week out, they're going to be more acclimatised to that type of weather. So if Kane starts puffing, or Watkins starts getting tired, because obviously the climate here is not as hot, or in Germany, Tony's a very good option because he's used to the heat, and I think that's going to prove a big asset for us. That's another reason why I think Jude might be picked over Rodgers, to be fair. He plays in Spain, it's a lot hotter than Birmingham is. So that'd be interesting, but I mean, I think there's only one starter for England, isn't there?
Oh, there's no doubt Harry Kane, absolutely.
I mean, he scored 36 goals, 5 assists. It's been incredible form. I think he's equalled Ronaldo's best scoring season this year.
I think, yeah, isn't he the player to score the most goals since Ronaldo in late 2010s, I think, something like that I remember seeing.
I mean, he's arguably England's most informed player.
Yeah, Ballon d'Or cases as well.
Yeah.
Season.
So Kane's probably going to be he's going to be the starter for England. Who's going to be back up then? Because Watkins obviously struggled, didn't he, at the start of the year? Villa fans were on his back. He found his goal scoring form towards the end of the season. Or would you go with Tony, an absolutely solid penalty taker? He gives us that option should we need it. Goes to extra time. We know it's going to Pens. We'll sub him on. He's obviously scored 32 goals, 7 assists himself, so he knows where the back of the net is. But who? I mean, I know it could be game dependent, but who would you pick as the number 2 choice between them?
I think that's where there's quite a bit of a good debate to be had there, because I think with Watkins you can make the case of, he's delivering, he's doing it in the Premier League at the moment, whereas Tony's playing abroad in Saudi. You know, the competitiveness of the league isn't quite up to the scratch of that of the Premier League, let's not kid ourselves. But I think also fans are quick to forget, when Tony was in the Premier League, when he was playing for Brentford, he was one of the most feared clinical strikers in the Premier League. So it's known that Tony can deliver and he can do it at that level as well. So I think more for me, based off that aspect, yes, Watkins is still playing in the Premier League at the moment, but there's no doubt that Tony can also do that as well. And I think with having 32 goals this season, I mean, Tony's an exceptional backup as well, especially when, like you said, you factor in the account that he's playing in Saudi where it's hot. He's going to be used to the conditions. I think that also does play a big aspect when it comes, down to the dying ends of a game. So I'd take Tony personally as my backup. But, I mean, you could really make a strong case for either or, I feel.
What about you then, Ryan? Who do you reckon you'd pick? I think, are you unanimous with me and Dean, you'd start Kane.
Oh yeah, Kane's
Right.
obviously the guarantee. I think, like you say, I think it's very much game dependent. It depends on the scenario of how the game's going and what personnel you want. Either give you different. They give you different options, don't they?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we're chasing the game, we change the formation and go 2 up top.
That could
Like-
that could be an option. I mean, even some of the wingers that you mentioned there, with the likes of Gordon or Rashford. I mean, they've been known to play up top for Newcastle and Barcelona and Aston Villa when Rashford was there. That's the flexibility of some of the players that he's brought into the squad.
So who would your number 2 pick be for that striker position? If there was a pecking order, you'd put Kane at the top. Who would you pick out of Tony and Watkins?
I mean, I haven't watched a lot of the Saudi
Pro
League, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. So I think if I was going, it'd be Ollie Watkins based on the form that he's hit at the end of the season for Villa. But if you look at, I mean, Tony's stats for his team this season, they've been terrific. So yeah, I wouldn't be arguing against either of those, to be honest.
The two names then that missed out attackively for England, Calvert-Lewin and Jabba Bowen. Don't think either deserve to get in either. I mean, there's a case for Bowen. I think he's a good player and he's done well for England before. But I mean, he's captained the West Ham team that have now been relegated. Not saying that's his fault, but he hasn't had his best season, has he, this year? He hasn't scored as many as he has in previous. And I don't think he would have got in over anyone that we've took either. So, do you think Bowen should have gone?
No, I don't think either one offer anything massively different over players that we've already took or can do anything better than players that are already have been selected for the England side. I think no doubt Bowen's a quality player and he'll feel like he's got something to prove now, arguably wanting to try and force a move away from West Ham with them being in the Championship. But I think there's better players ahead of him, especially when you look at last season in current form. I don't think he's delivered the same way that other players have for their clubs. So, personally, I wouldn't see why either one of those would be in the side. I do rate Calvert-Lewin and the season that he's had, though. I think, considering he was a free agent, he's done immensely well for Leeds. I mean, at one point in the season, scoring week in and week out for them as well. So, you know, solid little player, but not quite enough to get into the England side.
No. What we'll do now is we've covered pretty much every player that's go. We'll say what our starting 11 would be, because I think a lot of the criticism was that, you know, Maguire weren't picked, Foden wasn't going, neither was Palmer. But if you look at the basis of the starting 11, most of them would have, you know, the actual starting 11 is fine. Yes, there's a few backup players that you could argue, okay, shouldn't be there, but it's whether they'll even get used. Like Livramento might not even stand on the pitch. So is it even that big of a deal? Probably not. But what we'll do is we'll go through the starting 11, and I think they'll pretty much be the same, bar maybe one or two players. So if you want to start us off, Dean.
Yeah, I think I'll go Pickford in goal.
What formation are you going?
4-3-3. I think if we're going to go with what we're expecting the team to line up like. Pickford in goal, Reece James right back, and Nico O'Reilly left back. Centre-backs Gay and Konza. I'd have Anderson and Rice as the double pivot, with Rodgers operating just in front of them. Saka and Rashford on the wings with Kane up top.
Nice. Would you have Kane dropping back still?
Yeah, I think Kane does play that role really well. I mean, we've got to play to Kane's strengths. It works for him. He's done it all season for Bayern Munich and it's turned out just fine. So I think as long as we manage to play to Kane's strengths, hopefully, you know, he just needs those players to be aggressive and be making the runs in front of him. Because we saw in previous times where Kane will track back for England. He'll sit back into the midfield, try and win the ball back, look for that killer pass, but there's nobody there to be able to play the ball to. So I think as long as those players are being aggressive in front of him, you know, we should be fine. Ryan,
you're starting 11 then, mate.
To be honest, I think Dean's just picked mine for me. I would have said the exact same team as Dean. I don't think
is there anybody that hasn't been taken that you would have took and started?
I think there's a shout for Lewis Hall. Maybe if Nico O'Reilly took a knock or whatever. I think it.
What about Maguire? Would you have started Maguire if he was picked? Because personally, I think I would have done.
Yeah, I think he's he could have rotated a bit with Konza to ease the pressure off a little bit, share a bit of the workload. Again, another really solid aerial threat as well. So I think he would have gotten some starts here and there. Yeah.
Mine's slightly different then. So I'm going to go Pickford in goal, Reece James right back. I'm going to go Stones and Gahey centre back with O'Reilly left back. I think our midfields are pretty similar. I'm going to go Anderson, Rice as your two sort of central midfielders. I'm going to go Bellingham as your sort of more attacking midfielder. And then front three, same as yours, Dean. I'm going to go Rashford. I'm going to go Saka and Kane. So, I mean, it's very game dependent, isn't it? A lot of it, how the games are going.
0 Villa players in for a Birmingham fan.
I didn't actually pick Conte, did I? Well, you know.
And not being biased at all.
I'll be honest with you. If England win the World Cup and it's a Villa player that wins it, I don't mind. Obviously, I mean, when we went, you weren't there, were you, on? But last time we went to watch it at Wetherspoons, didn't we? And Watkins scored the winner. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I was top of the world. It was great. Bit weird celebrating a Watkins goal, but it was good.
Was that with the long range cup incident? Was it?
Yes, the long range cup.
Yeah, the Netherlands.
Dean loved to throw his cups in that one.
Yeah.
So
when I realised that was a dead eye specialist.
To be fair, that cup that you threw is still there as well.
I'm telling you, Olympics, put me on the shot put. So
no, it's a long episode for us, an hour and 10 wrong currently. But we had a lot to cover. We're going to have a think now what we're going to cover in future episodes. We've got 2 weeks till the World Cup starts, and then I think it'll be a bit easier again because we'll have matches to cover and whatnot. But is there anything either of you want to add before we wrap up?
I think in terms of the England side, one thing I just really quickly wanted to touch on because I didn't really speak about it much earlier. I do think I want to see Mainu get quite a bit of minutes as well. I know I've said Anderson and Rice I think should be the starting, double pivot. But I think with how Mainu's come into the second half of the season as well, I'd expect to see him rotate a little bit with Anderson, I reckon, because, Mainu's explosive from midfield. I think he's got a lot to offer. He's hungry and young. So, yeah, I want to see quite a bit from Mainu. Hopefully get a good amount of minutes in the tournament as well.
So, honest predictions then, where are we going to finish? Do you think, first question, do you think we're going to get out the group?
Yeah, I don't. I'd be concerned if we didn't get out the group. To be honest with you, I think you look at the team that they've got there. I mean, that team is more than capable of going a good length into that tournament.
We shouldn't be pulling the 2014.
Where would be the minimum you'd be happy with? What round?
I think the final. I think we've set ourselves that expectation. I mean, I want to see something get accomplished. It's easier said than done when you look at France's team. My God.
Thing is, anything can happen. They could get some injuries, couldn't they? Or, a couple of injuries in the World Cup. I mean, we've seen today, Suarez is missing it now. Yeah. Not for Uruguay. Not that he's as big as he used to be, but it's a big miss for Uruguay, isn't it?
I think, personally, with a manager that I don't rate as highly as I do rate Tuchel, we've managed to get that far in the tournament. So I don't see why now that shouldn't be achievable. If
we get to the final, do you think we'll win it?
I'm personally backing France to win the whole thing. I want us to win it, no doubt, but the cynical part of me just believes that France is going to win it because that side is an absolute monstrosity. I don't know how you compete with that. That attack alone is just disgusting.
What about you, Ryan? Where are we going to finish?
Oof. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree too much with Dean in terms of that France squad. I think England are more than capable of winning it. I
think we're actually favourites too, winning.
I think
that's how we always guess it.
We get ourselves excited, but I think you look at the teams that are in there. I think that England are more than capable of doing it. And the thing I want to touch on is that Tuchel hasn't been. He's been brave enough to leave so-called big players out of the squad. He's not afraid to leave big players out of the squad. He's gone based on what he thinks is the best, thing for the team. And he's, like I said, he hasn't crammed all the best players in. He's used the squad as a whole. And like you said, not put what was the thing that you were saying? Square pegs in round holes. the squad that he's picked is definitely more than capable of winning this tournament.
So you think we're going to win it?
If I was a betting man, I wouldn't tell you that we're going to hands-on win it, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if we won it now.
Well, it's coming home, isn't it? Let's be honest. We've already got one hand on the trophy, so I just need to invest in my air horn, which is going to be on order soon. And I think we're all going to the pub to watch it, aren't we, again?
Or will be my first time.
Did you get it booked off work? Has it been approved?
Yeah, it's all sorted.
There we go. Then we might get 3 air horns on the go.
And a couple of cups.
Yeah, for Dean. Throwing some more cups.
Yeah, I better start practicing my throwing in the back garden. Ready and prepared.
Last thing then, before we wrap up. 1,000 followers on Instagram now. So we've finally hit 1,000. So thanks to everyone for following. And keep telling your mates and your family and your dog and whoever else about it. Get them to follow us. Because we're doing quite well at the moment, getting quite a few followers in, and obviously people from the Netherlands, America. I think we've had one from Mexico listen, which is quite cool. Maybe I should wear a sombrero for the next episode. I don't know.
Yeah, because they can see that.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Yeah,
they'll be able to see that contribution.
Yeah, well, but no, what we'll do is we'll wrap up because this has been a long ass episode.
Yeah, if you've made it this far, well done to you.
Yeah, if you've made it this episode, if you comment the word, what word should we have at the end? Pineapple. Comment pineapple if you've got to this bit. If you have, thank you again for listening to us three. No, I think that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah.
All good. Same time next week.
Yeah, all good for that.
Yeah, sounds right. So until next week then, thanks for listening.
Got it.